Hair, Love, Radio.
You're listening to Hair Love Radio, where we get into the nitty-gritty of what it takes to make your dreams a reality, start unlocking your potential, and live your best life, helping hairstylists, creatives, and girl bosses spread their awesome and light like confetti. You were made for awesome. Welcome back to Hair Love Radio. I'm your host, Elizabeth Faye, and today I'm here again with the amazing Sarah LouWho, and today we are going to talk about the truth of what it is like to work with brands, how to work with your dream brands, and all of the ins and outs that go into that. Welcome back to the podcast, Sarah.
Thanks for having me again.
So fun. So this is a loaded one. This is a good one. I get asked a lot about this.
Totally. And I feel like I wish I had someone to ask these questions when I was starting out, because I felt like I was just like one person on a deserted island alone trying to figure things out. So I am more than happy to give away everything I've learned in the process.
I feel the same way. It can be a very long process of trial and error, and like also just like not knowing things, and then later you find them out and you're like, well, I wish I knew that 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Are you kidding? Like, I'm still looking at things that I did like this past March, and I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe I agreed to do that. Like,
yeah.
But I didn't know any better. But now, when you know better, you do better. That's what my mom said. So.
Well, that's awesome. I love, you were telling me you have your mom on your podcast, which, by the way, where can everyone find your podcast?
So my podcast is everywhere, like Google, Apple Podcasts, all of the other like podcast apps. It's published everywhere, and it is, you can search for either Sarah LouWho, but the podcast itself is called Work Hard, Slay Hard.
Love. And what is your podcast all about?
Podcast is all about working hard and slaying hard, essentially, but mainly like balancing your work life and staying motivated, and how to kind of kill it in the game because you're loving what you're doing, and how to do it without worrying the judgment of others like over your head, and just basically living your life being happier and working harder to do so.
I love that, which we've talked about this before, but I just really feel like our missions align. And so that's why we love collaborating with you.
Mm-hmm.
So working with brands, I like to call social media the wild, wild west.
Totally. I said the same thing. That's literally what I call it.
It really is the freaking wild, wild west. It's like, everyone's just figuring it out. There's like no real rule book. Everyone's trying to like make courses on the rule book, but like the truth is it's changing all the time, and everyone's actual like what works for you and what works for me is going to be different. There's obviously some basics, but at the end of the day, like what kind of posts do better with my audience are going to be different than your audience. And so, yeah, let's just talk about this crazy world.
Crazy world. So yeah, number one, like how I started, I remember like I thought that just getting products, like I remember freaking out the first time a brand sent me products. So like back to basics, right? Like the first time I got a PR box, I was like shook because I spend so much money on beauty products. Mind you, I'm not a stylist. I'm not a pro, so I can't even get them like at a discount. Like I'm going to paying the full price for them, consumer prices. And like that was just my life. Like I was, so I'm Sephora Rouge, which means you spend $1,000 at Sephora in a given calendar year, like within January. Like it's crazy because I just like to try things. It's my love. Like some people like gadgets, some people like cars. I mean, I like cars too, but I love beauty products. So when I got my first PR box from a brand, I was like, this is it. I've made it. This is amazing. like I'm done.
I think that's normal. I remember feeling that way too. And I remember thinking like, I cannot believe I tricked them into sending me this. Like, and I didn't do anything. I just like was like, oh, if you ever want me to review it, like that would be great. And then they sent stuff and I was like, oh my God, they did it. I tricked them. Oh my gosh.
Yes, absolutely. Like, and I remember like still feeling that way when I had like a good amount of followers. Like I was like 250 and I still was just like just happy that they were sending it to me. And I'm like, oh my God, like, do they know that like I'm not a professional makeup artist and they're sending me this? Like, hello, like they want the exposure, people. Like think about it. If a brand like what I think the markup on beauty is insane. Like the profit margins are crazy. It costs them shipping essentially to send you products and get all of that marketing back from you, from a blog, from a post, or from anything, even from you, word of mouth.
Yeah, even if it cost them $50 though, I mean that exchange is so like, crazy. Like the exposure for $50 is insane.
Yes. And it's to a niche market, right? Like, so we talked about on the last podcast about how I have a telecommunications company, and like, you don't really have telecom influencers. So we run like radio ads, and radio ads are insanely expensive, and they just go out to whoever's listening to the radio that day. And it's like, I don't know if it's someone who actually needs phones. I don't know if it's someone who even knows how to use a phone. Like, but I'm paying for that person to hear it. And when it comes to influencers and to social media marketing and blogs, think about it like they're like giving you this, and who you tell about it are exactly the kind of people that would buy it. So it's a very good focus group for them.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge. Well, and we'll put in the show notes. If you didn't hear the last episode we did with Sarah LouWho, you can find it in the show notes below, along with her podcast, and get to know her a little bit more. And we talked about like managing social content and just like what day-to-day life looks like and some fun stuff like that. But no, I mean, the reason people are sending you stuff or asking you to post about something is 100% is they're trying to make more sales. And I think the minute you, as an influencer, give yourself permission to be okay with that is the minute that you can actually start benefiting your audience more, brands more. Like it really can be a really great turn for you. And I think as long as you are being like really genuine with what you're posting. And like, we talked to Rebecca Taylor, and she talked about, she's like, oh, I took some brand deals I shouldn't have. So if that's you, that's totally okay. Like you're learning, you're human, like this.
Everyone does it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just part of the process. But I mean, the goal at the end of the day is to only accept brand deals that you love. And obviously the dream is to work with dream brands, doing what you're good at and sharing it with your audience. And that way you make the most sales for everyone, because your audience trusts you. They know you're not selling bullshit. But it's like the whole, how in the hell do you even get there? That is right. It's like, oh yeah, that's great. But where do we start? So we get our first PR box of free stuff. Hooray, hooray. It's really exciting. And then they start to come in, right? They start to trickle in. You start to get more.
Yes, they start to trickle in. And then I think I have like, it wasn't even that long ago that I got like the first full set of something, like the whole shade range. I think Laura Mercier, it was Laura Mercier's concealer, and they sent me their entire shade range. And I was just like, what do I do with all of this? Like, oh my God, like I was freaking out about it. And then like another one came in and another one came in, and I'm like, oh God, what do I do with all this makeup? Then it went from like, I was basking in my glory to, I don't have room for this. And then that kind of went to, I should say like my first brand deal was with Design Me, which I still work with. I'm still on the Design Me team there. I don't know if you've ever used any of their products.
Yeah, we actually sell some products at our salon.
Awesome. Okay, good. So back when like it was the first brand to ever reach out to me and ask me to partner with them. I think I was the first influencer they partnered with. And it was just we grew together. So it was a fabulous relationship. I loved everyone at that company, which for anyone listening, that is so key. Like you can love the brand, but if you don't love the people behind the brand, it's not going to work out. Like all of my best brand partnerships are because I get along with the people behind the brand as well. Yep. Like, trust me, there's some brands that I would love to work with, or I thought I wanted to work with. And then once it came down to like working with them, it wasn't so great. Like, yeah, I may love the product, but having a working relationship is a whole different story. But Design Me kind of took me under their wing. I took them under mine. We grew together. We experimented on things and learned. And it was cool because I remember how I announced it to my following was just like guys, like I have my first like real brand partnership. And everyone was so genuinely happy for me. Like part of me felt like, oh God, are they going to think I'm like a salesperson now? Like I'm not like just doing it to help them. But it wasn't like that at all. That wasn't the reaction I got, especially because I love the product. So one of my rules till this day, if someone reaches out to me and I haven't tried the product, even if it's a brand that I know, I will always try the product before I accept any sponsorships.
Or say no.
Because
I mean, I think it's good to stay open either way.
yeah, like the last thing I want is to like love a brand, but let's say they send me a product that I hate. Like I want to promote that. Say, hey, I hate this because maybe someone else loves it. I can't genuinely say I love something. If I can't genuinely say something's great, I'm not going to post about it. And I think that's a really cool people should stick to. Following the Rebecca Taylor comment, I definitely have taken some brand deals that I regretted, not because of the product or the brand per se, but because they worked me. Like they worked me for every cent that they paid me for. And it was just like a bad business decision on my part. Like they definitely won out in the long run. Like I did way too much for what I was getting paid to do. Those were kind of my brand partnership sales.
I think that happens.
Yeah.
There's a lot of brands who are kind of, there's a lot of, before I say this, there are a lot of amazing brands with the most genuine, hardworking, badass people behind them because we work with them. And I mean, we don't work with every single brand like that. I'm sure there's millions we don't even know about, but like the ones that we're partnered with, literally I couldn't love the people more. But on the flip side, there are brands out there that I know from other friends or influencers or bloggers. It's almost like a meat market. Like they are just like any blogger.
Oh, exactly.
Isn't smart enough yet and is willing to like kind of get screwed over and they haven't learned like the ropes. They're like out there looking for a micro influencer or an up and coming big one to try to be that first person. I've heard this massively with YouTube where they kind of lock and load them into situations that they're stuck in for a minute.
Yes.
Not so awesome. And it sucks, but that's how you learn sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can
and you learn how to read through contracts, you know, and you learn to get paid, you know, in timely fashions. And like, there's so much to learn. Like I had the one brand that comes to mind, I won't say the brand, it's actually a cosmetic brand, not a hair brand. And I only worked with them on one campaign, but it was just, they were so gung-ho to pay me. They paid me before as soon as I agreed to the campaign, they paid me that day. And I was like, okay, which is not how it normally goes. For me at least. So
normally I get paid quite a while after. I don't know about you.
Yeah, like that should have been my red flag, but I thought it was great, right? At the time being, I thought it was amazing. And then little did I know it was like they wanted to write, basically they said I would have, you know, I create my own content. I take my own pictures. I write my own captions. It's my way of promoting their product and my viewpoint, my words, but They did not get that. They did not give me that circle, that field. And I was struggling to find my voice as much as possible. And they were trying to have their exact viewpoints met. And so we ended up having to recreate the content over and over and over again. So instead of getting paid for the one photo I was supposed to post, I essentially did the work of 5 posts, even though just one of them were posted. So it was not good. They liked me. They came back and offered me the same thing, but I kind of smartened up and I was like, no, I want a contract. I want this. I want that. You get one review. And they ended up not signing it because they knew what happened the first time.
Yeah. Well, and this is my advice with contracts. And so before I go into this, are you with an agency or are you independent?
No, I have my own manager.
Okay. So does your manager, just to hear this correctly, they get you jobs and they help you look over things, right? But you don't have to take a job if you don't want to.
Correct.
Okay. And then you can work with whoever you want and your manager helps you, or are you stuck with a certain vein of brands?
No, I work with whoever I want. So sometimes I'll pull in a brand and I'll have her negotiate it for me. So like I'll have made the relationship up front and then she'll work out the deal for me. It's always good to just have someone play bad cop to negotiate money wise for you. Like it's never like a fun thing to be like, I'm worth more money. Like it sours the relationship kind of quickly. But when she does it, it's okay. Like I can have them not like her. I just want them to like me. Whereas if she pulls in a brand, like she'll come to me. She's come to me with some brands and I'm like, not really feeling it. Like, I don't feel like it's good. And she's like, yeah, I agree. But if brands come to her and they request me, she'll always bring it to me, even though she knows I'm probably going to say no. At least she gives me the option of saying no.
Yeah. So this is my advice is, and I want to hear your advice is for hairstylists, having an agent can be good or not good. It depends who you're partnered with. I actually work with Modern Salon Connective, and that's been really great. But here's my advice with that is, first and foremost, always read over any contract, even if like your person's helping you with it. Like, you should read it too. There's nothing wrong with that. And you just want to make sure you're like aware of everything. If you don't have someone helping you get things, that's totally fine. And you can do this on your own. You can read contracts on your own. You can Google on your own. Like, don't feel like you have to have someone help you. And you can always have a business lawyer in town look over something. And it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. Like, call like a local law office, or even like an office that does anything with intellectual like property rights. And they can even have sometimes like a paralegal or someone who's like, not the most expensive lawyer there look over everything. And it's just fine, because they have a lot of people that I know people who've gotten in like really strange relationships with that, and they've struggled. And I think like the big learning curve was like they were able to look over their own contracts in the first place. Like, they didn't need someone to do that. So an agent should just be helping you grow your reach and helping you meet people you didn't know, and then helping you take it to the next step. Like you're saying, like do kind of like the part that's not so fun. And so that's when that is useful, but you don't need them just to simply look over things that you're already getting yourself. Like, you want someone who's bringing something to the table as well.
Totally. And like, I think that like me and my manager we have a contract between the two of us, but either of us can terminate it at any time. So that makes sure that, if she's not serving my best interest at all times, and if I'm not working out for her, then it's like a relationship. It's what it is. Like, you want to be able to get out of your relationship if it's not serving you well. And both of us kind of have that viewpoint on it. So I didn't feel like she was like kind of tricking me into, haha, now I have a percentage of whatever you do kind of a thing. It's more so like, I know that she was going to be worth every penny I give her, because she's helping me earn more money.
Yeah, no, and that's what it should be. They should help you grow your reach. And then with the brand relationships you do have, if they are helping you with those as well, or if they're not, but depending if they are, they should just be helping you with the part that's not fun. And I think that's great that you have like a, if it's not working sort of thing, because there's no reason to be, locked into something. Yeah,
exactly. You don't want to be, to me, like, I feel like the longer the relationship's going to be, whether it be with the brand and agency, normally the longer the contract is and the longer you should spend looking at it. Like, if you have a contract that's a year long, definitely speak to someone who is familiar with contracts. Even when I was in pre-law in college, I was used to looking through court cases and things like that. Like, I was used to fine print, but I still have people looking through my contracts for me and making sure that the longer the relationship is, like, the more I go through it with a fine tooth comb, because I don't want to sell my soul for a long amount of time and basically like just be stuck. Like, if you're signing something, a relationship that's going to be years long, months long, make sure that you really, really are looking through all the details. Don't get excited and just sign it right away because you're scared that they're going to take it away. Like, if they're giving you that contract, trust me, they want you. And if it's a big red flag, if someone gives you a contract and tells you have to sign it by end of day, huge red flag, huge red flag. Be careful.
Yeah. Well, and none of that stuff needs to be rushed. And especially if they do want to work with you and you want to work with them, it's just like on your end, like everything's probably negotiable. If you really want to work with a brand, and even if they're paying you less than you want to work with, if you really love them and it's a great opportunity, you might take a different deal or something to build that relationship. It's negotiable. And I mean, to a certain extent, but you have to think that goes two ways. Like, if they're really excited about working with you, it's negotiable with them. And so say, hey, I need a month, or hey, I need a week, or hey, I need a phone call. I work with the Modern Salon Connective through my personal page, Hey Elizabeth Faye, and I took months, and they got on phone calls with me, and they were great, and they've been completely wonderful. It's been a beautiful relationship. But like, they were definitely patient with me, and it was totally fine. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. And I feel like, I don't know, I didn't have a manager until later on last year. So I did a lot of contracts myself in the beginning, and it wasn't too bad when it was like one post. Like, yeah, that's kind of easy to negotiate and do. But having someone, if you don't want to do something, speak up about it. Like, maybe if you don't feel like it's worth it, then say, okay, like, the deliverables, like, we can work with your budget, but we're only going to be able to deliver this much. Like,
yeah,
read books on the art of negotiation. You don't have to make enemies doing it, but make sure that you're not doing something for something that's supposed to be fun and you're supposed to love, and then end up resenting the brand afterwards because you didn't feel like what you were worth.
Yeah. Well, and I think when it comes to pitching and landing jobs, I mean, the most valuable asset you have is, like, in this exact instance, we're talking about working with brands, is the brands you already work with and love. And so that you want to think about it like that. Like, if you can start fresh, like doing something that's okay for both of you, this might be a 10-year relationship that really benefits your career forever. And so being honest isn't saying no to an opportunity. It might be creating the best opportunity that's ever happened to you.
Yep, totally. And like, there are some brands where, like, they're my dream brands. Like, in order to get my foot in the door, like, for every brand I've worked with, almost, like, I've worked for free first. Like, the brands that I wanted, the brands that we were going after ourselves, I do things for free for them first, because how can you show them value until you show them what you can do for them, So don't feel like you need to always get paid for things, because my biggest brand deals have come from me showing love to brands that I genuinely liked, just because I liked them and I knew my following would like them. And then it ended up into, like, some of the best business relationships ever.
Yep. No, and I spoke about this on a podcast with Olivia Smalley. I did stuff for Redken for free for about 1.5 to 2 years. And the reason they found me is I was teaching classes nationwide. I like went on this like crazy 4-year tour teaching hair painting classes, and it was awesome. But they found me because I was actually teaching like their products and how to use them. And they're like, who the heck? It was Haley. She was like, who the heck is this girl teaching Shades EQ? And then we met at shows, and I was like, I just love Shades EQ. And like, I didn't even get Shades EQ sent to me, like nothing. We were just friends, and I was like so excited to meet anyone who worked at Redken. And then, like, a couple months later, she's like, hey, do you want to show up to this event? And like, paid my own way to come, like everything. I'm like, heck yeah, I'm there. And that went on for years until like one day they're like, fly you. And I'm like, oh my God, you'll pay for my flight? Like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then eventually,
isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And then eventually they're like, oh, we'll feed you and fly you. And I'm like, what? And then like, it was like a couple years later, I had worked Coachella for them and no expectation of pay whatsoever. Brought my cute boyfriend to help me like Instagram it. And we worked really hard for probably 2, 3, 4 days. I don't remember. But it was really fun. It was a great experience for me. I think they paid for our hotel and food, and I was so excited. And someone up in corporate saw how hard I worked, and they'd known I'd like been posting and stuff for so long about them. And they're like, we should pay her for this weekend. And then they offered to pay me. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, no,
Yes.
it's okay.
I had,
like, no, take it.
Yeah. No, the same exact scenario happened to me not long ago either, because it was for a group of stylists that weren't sure if the social media educator that they had lined up was going to fall out on them. And I said, you know what? I said, don't worry about it. Like, I'll come and I'll just be like an extra. And anyways, like, even if they end up coming anyways, like, I'll come and I'll just be supplemental to it. And I said, I'll fly my own way. Like, I just want the experience. Like, just let me do it. And so I paid my own flight. I paid my own hotels. I bought everything myself.
You're so awesome.
They ended up reimbursing me for all my expenses and paying me for it after the class.
Yep. That's the best way though. And even if they wouldn't have that time, you never know what it would have led to, right?
Totally. Because like, I mean, just, you have to think about it as brand recognition for yourself, right? Like, yeah, I agree. There are some times when like, I don't need to take, I told my manager knows, like, I will never do a skinny me tea anything. Like we joke about it. Like if it is a coffee scrub or a skinny me tea, like it ain't happening. Like, it's like they're like, oh no, is this a skinny me tea email? And like we joke because it's just, no, like it's not. I don't care how much you want to pay me. It's not worth it. Like it's not who I am. It's not who I want to be. Like it's not aligned with my brand. It's done. But then there's some companies that I just genuinely love so much. And maybe I have friends who work with them. So I know even the people that work for that brand are amazing. And I will do things for free for them. And not only for free, but like I will come out of pocket all day long.
Yep.
I've flown myself to Fashion Week so many times. Do you know how expensive flights are and hotels are during New York Fashion Week?
I've flown myself to Fashion Week as well.
It's insane. Like it's crazy. Granted, it's a business expense, luckily, now that I know how to do accounting properly, but it's crazy. Like,
well, and I think it's good for people to hear though, that like because this is a self-driven, I mean, you're an entrepreneur if you're doing this. And so it's up to you, you know, when you start working, how much content you make, what relationships you make. And so you really have to like we said this, we did a live podcast show at a women's event. And I was like, if there's a fucking wall and you want to be on the other side of it, like cut a goddamn window in it. Like you have to make it happen, because sometimes that's never going to happen. Like, there is a few brands, and I'm just going to manifest it out into the world right now on this podcast. Like, I love the Headspace app. I love it. I use it with my son. It's just, you know, an awesome thing. And so that's a brand like I support and I love, and it would be a dream to work for, but like, I'm happy to share about them for free, to fly out, anything. And so if there's someone you feel like that about, like you just do it. And so, or you buy their product. Like another one, I love Nick's Wear. They're like an intimate apparel brand, and I just love, they support like all women's body type.
Send me that link.
And it's just
DM it to me.
Undies. I'll DM it to you. It's like undies and bras. And I just love that they support all colors, all shapes, all sizes of women. Like it's just right up, you would love it too. It's like right up our alley. And like, I would love to work with someone who supports that as well. And so I will buy their products, and I will buy them, and I will buy them, you know?
Yep. So. Exactly. Like, I mean, if you follow me, everyone knows like Delta is my holy grail. Like I fly everyone. If I buy someone a trip, it's a Delta trip. Like, so I tag Delta constantly. I'm not paid by Delta. I would love to be paid by Delta if anyone from Delta's listening. But like, it's just something, it's a type of like emotional loyalty I have to this brand, because I love it so much that it's okay. Like we all have brands that we just love, and it's okay to put that out there. Like, I feel like a lot of people feel like they're almost oversharing, or like if they say everything they love, then it's going to be like too much clutter. But I mean, if you have all aspects of your life, right? Like, yeah, I'm a beauty influencer, quote unquote, but I still have to fly places. I still have to drink my water that I like. I still need to brush my teeth with a certain toothpaste. Like, and why not share what I've been using and what I use at home? Like that's my life. Like that's what people follow me for.
Well, and that's honestly, I do not know like the statistics right now, but I know I've looked at them before of like statistically how people buy things, and like it's I know that the numbers are extremely high when it comes from referrals online, like on social media. And think about how many products you have in your bathroom right now that your mama didn't tell you about, but a Sarah LouWho online did.
Exactly.
And whether or not you notice it, like I'll see it and then I'll see it again. And then someone I love, like let's say you reposted it again. I'm like, you know what, freak, I'm just going to buy it.
It's doing it. Exactly. Yep. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand too. Like from the brand side, I work with some brands that are like, oh, well, if we give you like a swipe up from your story, like we want you to guarantee we'll have this much in sales. And it's like, hold up. Like, I'm not controlling those people's wallets. Like, I'm telling them how much I like it. It's up to them to want to buy it. Like, this is most of what social marketing is brand recognition. And it's just, yeah, like if you see something so many times, like you just said, like you'll end up going, you know what? Like, I've seen it. I was already interested in it, but I didn't buy it then. But now that this person's saying it, maybe I will buy it this time. Maybe they'll buy it the next time they hear about it, but you can't control that.
No. Well, and like I may have learned it from you, but I may have bought it from, the other Sarah. I don't know, because I've heard it multiple times by now. And that's where like, that's an untrackable thing. And we've learned this more like moving into hair love and working with influencers is, and it's been great running a company, being and like understanding being an educator and being an influencer. I feel like we have a really, we're like on the heartbeat of like, we understand it, And so, being a hairstylist, being all that. And so it's just a matter of like spreading the light, and what people do with that light, I cannot guarantee.
Yeah,
and so
we don't have control over it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just think that, I don't know, I think some brands are out there, and when it comes to like working with them, just make sure that you like the people behind it, you believe in the products that they are, and then make sure that you if you have a contract with them, like the only time, and people always ask me too, like, when should I get paid versus when should I get like free product? And in the beginning, I always decipher that between if a brand's telling me when to post, I'm getting paid for it. If a brand's just sending me things and saying, we'd love for you to post about this, then in the beginning for me, that was suffice. Like I didn't think that was worth like an exchange of money. My manager has since differently. So now, like if a brand reaches out to us and says, hey, we'd love to send her this product, she'll respond or I'll respond and saying, like, if it's something I want, or like, I feel like I may like to review, we'd say, yep, would love to try it. Just so you know, though, like product does not guarantee like exposure on any of my channels. Like it's like, if I get something and I hate it, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm sorry. You're lucky I'm not going to talk about it, because I also don't bash people. Like I get things I don't like all the time, and I just don't talk about them because I've said this before, like I don't want to, just because like I don't like this face lotion, right? Because I don't like it, I don't think it works for me. That isn't to say that you're not going to love it. Like I don't ever want to keep someone away from maybe their holy grail product either. So I'm big on like not bashing products, specifically products, because sometimes you work with like bad customer service at a brand. Like I feel like that should be spoken about and talked up so that the brand can recognize it and fix it. But when it comes to product by product basis, I never say like, oh, I don't like this, because someone else may love it and I don't want to keep them from it.
No, I think that's awesome. Well, and yeah, very, could you imagine someone sending you a lotion and you're like, this shit smells bad. And they're like, whoa, just thank you that. Yeah. No, I think that's great. And so let's do a wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. Wrap it up. All the free tips are, what's up? What's up? This is pretty fly. Blowing your mind like, oh me, oh my. Let's wrap it up.
I think a big takeaway for someone, who's newer or wants to venture into this or has a little bit of a following and kind of wants to dip their feet into it, is to support people authentically without being paid, and realize like it's a real human relationship you're building. And if you scratch their back, they'll scratch yours. And to not be afraid to not reach out and say, hey, will you pay me? But like reach out and introduce yourself, or say how much you like the product. And there's nothing wrong with reaching out and saying, hey, I really, really love your product. If there's anything I can ever do to support you, like, let me know. I think that's a great thing to say, because you're just like, hey, if you have and maybe they'll reach out and say, hey, we have a new Shades EQ color coming out. We'd love to see your work. Tag us, like And that's fine. It's just starting that relationship.
Totally. And that's like, I just recently moved to New York. That's the sole purpose for me moving there, was because I wanted to be able to hang out with the people, the brands I worked with all the time. If someone sent me a contract, I wanted to be able to go meet them face to face, sit down and have a coffee and have that human interaction. So I think that's really, really important. I agree.
Yeah. Well, and with like, to build upon that, if you're someone who like can't do that, that's okay too, but be willing to hop on an airplane. Like, I can't tell you how many times, like, and thankfully I have a very, like, I choose supportive people in my life, and so I'm around them, but like, I'll be like, hey, this brand's going to be in LA on this day, I told them I'm there and I'm going to go to lunch with them, you know. And so,
Yeah.
and you don't have to be like, hey, I'll fly out, but if they're like, oh, we're in LA these days, are you around, you just say yeah and fly.
Yes. I've done that so many times, like for New York, like, oh, you're doing that day? Great. I'm in town. And I've just booked a hotel and a flight, because that's what you have to do. Like, I think that so many people don't get that. Like, do what you have to do because you want to too, right? Because you have no idea. It just takes one interaction to change your entire life. Like, one interaction, it takes one anything. Like, you have no idea what that one thing could, like your star map we talked about before, like what that one point could take you to, like that one stepping stone. So
that's number 2. One interaction can change your life. So do things to do it. Okay. And what's number 3, Sarah LouWho?
Number three is figure out what people get paid for these things, right? So,
oh, I love that.
When I first started, I had no idea. Like, when people would ask me what my rates are, I had no idea where to even start. You know, message other influencers, like around your, like me and a bunch of the other Pixie girls, like we all follow each other and everything. Like, we've been such a great support group and great information for each other. Like, oh, have you worked with this brand? Yeah, I worked with them. Well, were you paid? And like, we've shared that, as long as obviously you don't have NDAs, but like, make sure that you're not underselling yourself. Cause I undersold myself so badly. To the point where, like, when I first met with an agency and they told me what I should be getting paid for posts, I laughed in their face. Like, legitimately I was like, you're crazy. And then when I got my manager and I actually got that amount, I was like, oh, okay. So like, this could have been happening all along. So just make sure that you're not selling yourself short. Cause I've done work with a brand and sold myself short. And then they think they came back and it kind of spoiled the relationship, because I was like, sorry, like, this is my rates now. And they were like, are you crazy? And I'm like, well, other people are paying it. So apparently we're all crazy.
That's awesome.
But
So
definitely get paid.
I'm going to talk about this for 1 second. So I have a lot of friends in the blogger like circle of life, just because I live in Utah, and the hair world's very different in that niche, where like influencing is such a new thing, and they're not technically content creators. They're just hairstylists who make awesome art, and then they're learning how to create content around it. So it's kind of like the hair industry's been playing catch up a little bit when it comes to like what makeup artists are doing or fashion bloggers. And so, which is something we try to do on our podcast, is like educate people, like make a media kit, and it's okay to do this, and you know, things that like are new. It's not like any of us went to school for it, and a lot of hairstylists probably don't know other hairstylists doing it. And so we do talk about business stuff a lot on the podcast. So let's have an open and honest conversation, and with what you're comfortable with. But I'm happy to talk a little bit about what is normal and what's not. And I love that we talked about it's fine to be sent free product. I think it's fine to send thank yous on a story. I think an in-feed post is great if you're trying to work with a brand and you actually love them, or it's a paid post. But like, I wouldn't post in feed for a brand unless I wanted to work with them and I was trying to build that like loyalty and support with them, or it was being paid.
Totally.
And a story is someone that I'm just like, you know, maybe not going to work with, maybe will. Like, sometimes I'll just do a thank you or an unboxing or something. And if I don't like it at all, I won't post it. And so that, I think, is like some like basic boundaries. I think, like you were saying, if there's any stipulations asking to post at all, that typically should be paid unless it's like you want to collaborate with them and it's a giveaway that's like giving you both followers or an opportunity or publishing you, like something that's like it's an exchange of value. Like, hey, we're going to feature you in this magazine or whatever it may be, or, you know, send people like, we're going to let you be on our stories, but it's, you can tag yourself and get new followers from it. I think that's fine. I think it's great to collaborate, but I think in feed or constant curated content needs to be charged for. And I know, and it's so different if it's niche or not, but I know there's like a basic standard, like in some of the blogging Facebook groups I'm in, basically $100 per 10,000 followers you have for an in-feed post, but you have to realize there'll be people who will pay a way less and way more. And sometimes you'll get a campaign that's like a combination of things. So it could be so different. And if you have their exact audience they're looking for, you're worth a lot more. So let's talk about that.
Yep, totally. So I agree. And I hear that number a lot. But how I describe it is take your following and divide it by 100. So that's what you should get paid around in general per post. Granted, if it's a video, like my video rates are more than my picture rates. My, like it all depends. And it depends on what brand I'm working with, right? If I'm working with a brand that is like coming out with a pixie hair product, yeah, that rate's higher because guess what? Like my following is all pixie women. Like also my demographic, like I can ask for higher rates because my following is 92% women aged 18 to 35.
Yeah.
Those are the women who are going and buying these beauty products. So like I know another girl who's an influencer, and we just have different styles in general, right? Like she posts different kind of images, and she has a lot more male following. And she writes me and is frustrated that she doesn't get the same rates, that the rates that she should be getting, but it's because she's like men aren't going to buy this eyeliner, like, so that's why. And I try to say that too. It's almost like I tell stylists to post for the clients you want in your chair.
Yep.
It's the same way. Like if you're an influencer, post for the brands that you want to attract, right?
Well, and if you're trying to attract women who shop, don't be too sexy. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like it's not what it is. Like, and that's cool. If that's who you are as a person, by all means, like do you, boo, but like, don't be surprised when this happens, essentially is what it is. Like this is advertising. Essentially. Yeah. This is just a different form of it.
Yeah. Well, and a media kit, which we've talked about a little bit on the podcast. I mean, you can Google it. There's so much information, but like basically that's your digital resume that says stuff like that. Like for you, that's we have like 89% women. It's like really high too. And so that's something you want to tell a brand when you're like, hey, you sell bras. Like I speak to women. Like this is actually really, and so where like a bruise campaign from Redken probably would do okay. Like I have a hairstylist audience, so maybe they have boyfriends, but like a bra campaign or a Shades EQ or anything with bleach, like that's going to kill it. Like that's more my niche. And so your media kit's going to show that off. That's like, hey, this is why I'm perfect for you. I may only have, 10,000 followers, but they're literally exactly what you're looking for.
Exactly who you want.
Yes.
Totally.
So let's
and then
talk
if
about,
anyone
keep going.
Media kit.
No, keep going.
I was going to say so the company that made me change my whole viewpoint last year on like how to talk with brands and work with brands is called FOHR, FOHR. And it's really a brand platform, but because it's free to sign up if you're an influencer, brands have to pay money to access the influencers that they have. But if you sign up as an influencer, one of the profiles that they provide, like once you log in and you like attach all of your channels, is your media kit, and it's updated real time. So like you can log into your profile and click the download button and download your media kit into a PDF. So you always have real time statistics, and it's completely free.
Yeah. That's going in the show notes. Boom. Love that. Boom. Well, and I would imagine, I know some of those, is this one do that? Because there's other platforms similar, but I've never heard that. That's cool. Does it kind of give you a basic pricing, like what you should be charging based on your numbers at all?
Yes. So like because what they're doing, really, that's for the brand. So it'll say like Sarah LouWho, like based on her engagement rates and everything, here's what she probably charges per post. And it gives the brand a range, but you
So
can
they
see
know.
that. So you know
Yeah.
what you should be charging. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so amazing. So let's talk about, I feel like 2019, there's just going to be a lot more video content coming out. And I think like all my son watches is YouTube. Like, and he's 5. Like, I just think video is like queen right now. So moving into next year, how would you, and I mean, you're speaking to hairdressers, you're speaking to influencers, creatives, bloggers. How would you say to price video differently than like an in-feed post? Like, how would you go about that?
So I work with about 10 to 20% more. So whatever you charge for a post, charge 10 to 20% more for the video is what I do. Also, like, you have to keep in mind, like, it's very rare that I will do a campaign that's just like one post. Like, they just want one video.
Yeah,
Most of the time they want, like 4 stories and a video and a post. So it's like a package deal. So you always want to go in for the package deal. But for my videos, it's normally about 10 to 20% more than what I would normally charge for just a regular post in my feed.
Yeah. No, I think that's normal. I've never had someone reach out to me for one post, except for maybe like when they were sending me free product 7 years ago and they were like, hey, will you just post our cardigan? And I'm like, oh my God, yay. But no, I think that's more normal. Well, in a marketing campaign, like when we do Hair Love, like we're never like asking an influencer, hey, will you just shout us out? Like we want to show like that we work together. We chose you for a reason. Like we want, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. You want a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. And then what is your advice? So I would say most hairstylists who are like, we have a lot of micro influencers right now in the hair field. So I'm going to say between 2000 and maybe like 60, 40, 30. Like, I mean, we're kind of working in that range of people. And I mean, I don't think they need necessarily like a manager and agency per se.
No.
Like, I just think it's necessary. But what do you say, like, what's our advice to them? Like, obviously make a media kit, build the relationships. We talked about that. But as far as when they are working with a brand who, let's say they approach them or they approach you about a campaign, what's like a normal price range for someone in that niche area to be getting paid? Are they getting paid $500, $1,000, $5,000? Because I literally have been offered $500 and up to like over $5,000 for different things. So like, what do you think is normal and like is an acceptable, given the fact that you may take things because you want to build a relationship? But like, let's say we're kind of getting past that and we are in a relationship, we're taking things to the next level with this brand.
So first of all, when a brand comes out and says like, hey, what are your rates? I would always say like, what's the scope of the project? Do you have a budget in mind? Like you always, like, it's like a game. Like you always want them to tell you the number first. Like you never want to say the number first. Make them say it. And then you work with that. Like if it's way under budget, like spend what you have in mind, but you really want to work with them, then you tell them that. Like be honest and say, look, like I love your brand, I love your products, but this is my normal rate. Can you meet me in the middle? And like, yeah, if you want to work with them, come down a bit. I will say that the smaller you are as a micro influencer, the more you should charge per follower. So like the bigger you get, the less you can charge, like the less that formula of your following divided by 100 actually matters, because like it's just, you don't have as much true authentic influence over your following. So when you have 10,000 followers, you really should be getting paid, what is that, $100 a post?
Yeah.
So it's not more.
When do you feel like that stops applying? At 100K, or when would you?
Yeah, like at like 200, I'd say like high ones and into the twos. Then the brands start to have a little bit more power back. I'd say like into the twos, because like even in the hundreds, that's like a good, like, especially if you have great engagement and like you engage back with your following, like that is an amazing thing to have, because a brand will know that you have like real influence over, you know, the people that are following you, and like they really do trust your recommendations.
Yeah. Well, and that's
Did
where
I answer? I feel like I made it.
No,
Did
no,
I
no.
answer every
No, I feel
question? Okay.
No. I feel like that's niche. Like that makes sense. And like usually when you're that small, you are pretty niche. Like I feel like you have like mainly women, or you're speaking about beauty, or like you're talking
Mhm.
about something. Usually if you're building something, you're not just like, I'm wherever I want to be. Like even if your lifestyle, I feel like you still have a niche of, you know, women or men,
Yep.
moms or creatives. No, I think that's great.
Totally. And then one lesson I have to say, because it was taught to me, and like I feel like it's helped me stick to my gun so much, is that when I had a meeting, when I should have been charging 2,000 a post or whatever, and I was charging like 250, I met with a man and he told me, he said, look, he goes, he goes, do never charge. You're going to ruin it for the rest of everyone, right? If you doing this is skewing the entire industry, like,
that is
because
so true.
you're doing that, the next person who knows what to charge, they're coming back and saying, well, we're not going to charge that because we paid this girl this much. He said, so charge this much. Like I think it was that he gave me like $1,000. I should have really been getting like a $2,000 rate. He was like, charge $1,000 or nothing. If you really want to work with the brand and they don't have a budget, don't lower it to 500. Do it for free, because then at least they know the expectations are that you're going to get paid X amount. So when they come back to you, they'll appreciate that you did it for free. They'll see like the work that you did and that it did pay off for them. And that's going to set you up to have a better relationship down the line. And that, when I first heard him, I thought he was crazy, but I just trusted him enough to just kind of be stubborn and go along with it. And it has proven true, like over and over again.
I'm obsessed with that, because this is so funny you're saying this. We literally teach this. I have a coaching program and we teach business, life coaching, and color. And so we have a bunch of colorists and salon owners and all that. And in our pricing structure for hairdressers, so it's specific, but this applies. I'm like, don't do a discount, just do it for free if you're going to do it. And then it's a gift. And then you got content out of it, like get something out of it, but it's free. And then, you know, they're going to pay or they're not. But I think that's so true. And then like really, you did still stand your ground and you were able to be the good guy and you get to show your worth. Like the best thing I ever did was, you know, show my worth to a company and say, look, I want to do this for you. Just let me show you, you know?
Yep, exactly.
Love it. Oh, all of it's so good. Well, you are amazing. Let's continue to work together. And if there's anything we can do over at Hair Love to support you, we are happy to. We'll have all of her information in the show notes below. And we look forward to having you involved in Hair Love more. So thank you for
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I was like sluggish all day today. And then since we started talking, I'm like all amped up right now. I feel like I need to go, like, I don't know, do something, take over the world right now. I'm super just motivated. So thank you so much for having me on. And I can't wait. Like, this is just the beginning, like the start to a great thing, I think.
Yes. Well, I love it. So thank you guys for tuning in. And as always,
we Hair Love you.
Hair Love Radio.